I got all I want, and I got all I need, and I got everything. I got you and me. All I want, I got all I need.
So today we're going to talk about our first year of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We were married January 15th.
No.
January 16th.
Yes.
2015.
Yes.
I passed, right?
No.
Oh, man. I was close.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about the first year today.
Which is a bit of a foggy haze.
Mm-hmm. It was a long time ago. Feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about our living conditions in our first year?
That is probably the easiest part to remember of our first year.
Right.
We went on a cruise directly after our wedding. And when we got home from the cruise honeymoon, we were living with my mom in her basement.
Yeah. We lived with your mom for like 4 months till May. 1st of May.
Yes. And then we moved to the tiny apartment in Falcon Heights.
Yeah. What do you remember anything specifically about? I mean, I remember living in your parents' basement,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember, the room was right next to the laundry room, so I remember people walking into the laundry room.
Yep.
There was like a sliding door.
Yep.
A weird sliding door next to the stairs.
Yep. So we didn't even have a real door. And then the other doors, there were 2 doors.
Uh-huh.
And the other doors were just like swinging.
Right, closet doors.
Yeah.
And there was no window, right, because there's no egress.
There was an egress window.
Oh, there is? Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
You would know better. You grew up there.
My dad put it in.
Oh, wow. Fancy.
Yeah, it was a tiny little window like the one in Ellie's room was.
Yeah. Right away when we got married, I remember waking up together and making breakfast and like seeing each other off to work.
Mm.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, we've come a long ways.
Yeah. Only like 20 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But we would wake up. It was like, I don't know, there was some intentionality there.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, probably, do you think that we were still kind of honeymoony in our marriage at that point? That was probably our stage at the time.
Yeah, and no kids.
No kids, no conflict, really.
No, there was conflict.
You think so?
Yeah, you were really icky about my past.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't really necessarily call that conflict. That the way that I think about that is just like hurt. Like I was hurt and carried. So in our dating relationship, we had a conversation, right, that spanned like our histories, right? We had the history conversation as couples do. And I think I carried that really heavy for a long time.
It felt like conflict to me because we had to have a lot of conversations about it, and we really had to work through it and process it, and some of the things that you thought about it were hurtful to me.
Right. Yeah, I remember, we were really young. Like at this point, we're 21. Because remember, it's January. Just take my word for it. Yeah, we were 21 at the time. So basically, babies.
Babies.
Yeah. I had graduated college at the time. You had not. Unfortunately.
Right.
But you were in school.
Yes.
You were finishing up. How many classes did you have to finish up? Do you remember?
I had my entire second semester of senior year.
Wow. And you did it online?
Yep.
Okay. And part of that was due to how quickly we got married.
Well, yes. We got engaged in December and we got married in January.
There are probably been shorter engagements, right?
Yeah.
I think if you add up the days, it's probably like 25 days. We were married on the 16th, and I think we got engaged the 23rd or 24th. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's 31 31 days in December. So that'd be 7 and 16, which would be 23. Math. So you felt like there was a lot of conflict.
I wouldn't say a lot of conflict, but we did have conflict.
Okay. Yeah. And we weren't fighting about like things we were disagreeing on. It was more, I had to ask a lot of questions and I had a lot of concerns and hurts from the past and, the differences in our past. And I don't know. I don't know if anybody or if everybody would carry it quite the way that I did, but I know that I carried it really, really heavy.
We were also still
Big yawn.
enmeshed, codependent.
Yeah, there was a lot of codependence. Waking up in the morning, spending every moment together.
But that could be part of the reason why you carried that so heavily, because there wasn't a lot of separation between you and me.
Right. And our mental health, I think, suffered because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, at that point in my life and growth and maturity, I don't think that there was a world that I was going to be healthy enough to have a relationship where I wasn't codependent.
Right.
I think that was just partly a reflection of me and where I was at.
Well, same Z's.
Same Z's?
Mm-hmm.
I guess all Z's are fairly similar.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. It won't happen again.
It will.
Yeah. So yeah, that was hard. I it wasn't even just the first year that went on, and so we'll have to talk about that for a few years into this journey. How was that for you? I carried that so heavy. Did that? You mentioned that it was kind of hurtful.
Right. Hard to relive all of it. Hard to be reminded of all of it all the time. Hard to not feel forgiven or clean. Hard to feel so ashamed of it and to feel like my husband was putting shame on me also. And several years later, after you'd been a counselor for a little while, your mind shifted. Your mindset shifted quite a bit. And you started to realize that a lot of the things that happened were not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that was nicer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we grew a lot over the years, and that was one of the areas that we grew in.
Mm-hmm.
I remember your mental health, because of my work situation. I remember you being incredibly anxious, like overwhelmed by me going to work. There was a lot of insecurity. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you about your mental health during that season.
Please go ahead.
Do you remember a lot of that?
I do. First, you worked at Acapulco.
I was a bad waiter and a bad bartender at a wonderful Mexican restaurant.
And there were a lot of females that worked there with you.
Right.
And I didn't like that environment.
It's not a great environment. I guess I would say it's not a great environment for a married man or married woman, but I almost feel like that's not fair because I feel like a lot of people do that.
I think that there's a difference. Like when I was a server, there were some mid-40s women who were married. That's like a different place in life,
right,
than a 21-year-old.
And I think that some of the insecurity and anxiety that you held was, again, due to that codependence that we talked about. Mm-hmm. There was very little separation between our emotional states. And so we just carried that really, really heavy.
And my parents' marriage fell apart around that same time. So I was very afraid.
Right. You want to talk about the wedding? Because in our wedding, it was pretty awkward. And right around the time that we were planning our wedding was kind of a time when that was breaking apart.
Right. My mom wouldn't sit next to my dad at the wedding.
Right.
She put her purse in between them.
Yeah. And they were still living together at the time. But then while we were...
He was in a different room.
He was in, in internal separation.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hard. We all lived there, but it was very broken.
Right.
We were broken, mental health, and their relationship was breaking. And you, growing up, had experienced them as very united and really a beautiful couple.
Right.
So I think for you, it wasn't like, oh, this is broken all along, and then it finally breaks when I'm graduated from college. It was, this is a beautiful story, and then that beautiful story really got cut short and ended.
Yes, quite unexpectedly.
And you're very close to your father, so I think that also had something to do with how you carried it.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're all living in the same house, and that was hard. It was hurtful to process.
There was also some contention between who cooks and cleans and buys food, and some different expectations of how long we were going to live there when we first moved in. And then all of a sudden they changed. The expectations changed. And it was like, you have till the end of the month kind of a thing.
Yeah. It wasn't a soft launch. It was kind of a, just so you know, we're coming to the end of this.
Yeah.
Which was good in hindsight.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, we didn't want to live there for very long.
No.
We just
were saving.
Zero money.
Well, you had more money. You brought in more money to the marriage than I did.
Yeah.
But you also brought in more debt.
You got your master's, so.
Well, so eventually I acquired more debt than you had, but
there you go.
You brought in more.
Period.
Well, we're talking about the first year. Let's stick with the topic here at hand.
My little sister also lived in the house.
Oh, really? He was there?
She was.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
So that was awkward. Our room was not soundproof.
No. Nope.
So.
Awkward. Speaking of awkward.
Yeah. She's mentioned that was really awkward for her.
Oh my word. I can't imagine. And I was so unhealthy that I wouldn't have even thought about it.
Right.
I didn't have the capacity to really think about those types of things due to a combination of the codependency and anxiety and anxious attachment and stress and all of the things.
Yeah.
That's rough. So we moved out.
We did.
So we moved out on the 1st of May. And we upgraded to a less than 800 square foot, 2-bedroom apartment. No AC, built in the 70s. Yeah, that was it was our first apartment ever. Neither of us had ever had an apartment because we both either lived at college or at our parents' houses.
I remember us both thinking it was pretty nice.
I think we did. Yeah. And it was a steal. The only reason that we moved there was because it was the cheapest 2-bedroom that we could get, and we were expecting, so.
We needed 2 bedrooms. Also, though, I wanted you to switch jobs before we had, and so you were going to be working in Arden Hills.
Yeah, so due to some of the anxiety and due to just both of us agreeing that it probably wasn't a good long-term fit.
And I didn't want you working in the evening when we had a baby.
Right, because I was working.
I wanted a normal hour job.
Yeah, I think I was working 3 evenings at that point, which was a lot. Well, we had plenty of time together. So I
think you had much. A double, too.
2 doubles.
Oh, 2?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked 2 doubles.
And I worked at a daycare.
How much were you making?
I don't know.
Were you making like $9?
Yes.
I think you were making $9 an hour working at a daycare.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that right now the minimum wage is something like 15 in Minneapolis?
Yes.
So that's a little crazy.
It is.
Yeah. So I took a pay cut to, instead of go and serve, I worked at the front desk of a counseling agency.
Yep.
And there was still anxiety about that.
Still a lot of females.
Still a lot of females. I think I've always worked in female-dominated environments.
Yep.
So that's nice.
Yes.
But that was a good switch. And the reason that I worked at the front desk of a counseling agency is because I knew that I wanted to go get my master's, and I knew that I was going to have to, or I wanted to get as close to the counseling world as I could. And with a bachelor's in communications, there's really nothing counseling-wise that you can do.
Right.
So I worked at the front desk.
Yep.
So I worked there for, I think from like June to I think it was like 3 or 4 months that I worked at the front desk. And then I got upgraded to the billing department.
It was only 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure it was only 3 or 4 months. It might have been like November, December, maybe November that I switched up.
I feel like I remember it being longer than that.
Mm-mm. Yeah, if I had to guess, and this is a guess, it would be I transitioned in June. I worked there July, August, September, October. So I guess that's 5 months. And then by November, I was already at the billing office. And that was a substantial pay increase to get that little promotion. But we're forgetting something. Do you know what we're forgetting in July?
I didn't forget.
You-
Our first
you look like
child
you
was
forgot.
born in July.
July 23rd.
6 months after our wedding.
Yep. January to July. Maths, as the English would say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she came. We you went into labor, and funny thing about you is whenever you're pregnant, whenever you're full term, you pop the day of, the day after, or the day before of your due date.
Yes.
4 for 4.
Although she was late.
Oh, that's right. The first 3
Mm-hmm.
was day before. Is that accurate?
I don't remember.
I don't remember which ones were which, but yeah, one was day before, one was day of, and one was day after,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then she came, and our world changed.
Yes.
That was hard. That was a really hard transition, that first one.
Yeah, we were not ready.
We weren't healthy. There was
No.
nothing, literally nothing in our lives that were healthy. We weren't very healthy physically. We weren't very healthy emotionally.
Excuse
We
me.
weren't.
I was fit.
You were beautiful. You were absolutely beautiful, and you remain so.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
But we really weren't. We weren't like
No.
healthy
No.
in physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally. I don't know about spiritually. I mean, we were pretty, I think, desperate. So maybe there was an emotional or a spiritual engagement because of our desperation. And we had a good church. Yes, it was.
Well, so many things have changed in our 9 years of marriage, but
Mhm.
that has not.
It hasn't.
We were married there, and our 4 girls were dedicated there,
Mm-hmm.
and we became members there, and we're super involved there, and we've moved a few different locations, and at every location we live at, whether it's near or far, that's remained the same.
You're getting a little bit ahead of yourself. But you're absolutely right. When we lived at your parents' house, we were like 15 minutes away. And the farthest we ever lived away from church was when we were in Falcon Heights.
Yes.
So it was like 35, I think 35 minutes away. But we still made it work.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived there for quite some time,
Yeah, 4 years.
as we'll figure out.
Oh, I'm not supposed to say?
You could say whatever you want.
I feel like there's a lot of rules about what I can and cannot say.
It's okay. You'll find more as we
I'm
go.
breaking all of them.
Yeah. Totes tips.
Mm-hmm.
So then, do you want to talk about mental health after? Because I feel like that was a really intense part of our story.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think I had postpartum depression, and I think also postpartum anxiety. I was really anxious about you being gone at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really lonely in that little apartment with just me and Juliana. And I thought she cried quite a bit until I realized she didn't cry that much at all. But
Yeah.
at the time, I thought that she cried quite a bit, and I didn't know what to do a lot of times. And for a lot of time, we only had one car. And I don't remember, because it was like off and on. And I can't remember at which points we only had one car and at which points I did have a vehicle.
It was so sporadic.
But I think usually it was like during the hardest times ever, we only had one car, so I'd be stuck at home.
Mm-hmm.
And that was awful.
I remember coming home from work, having put in a long day, tired, and I remember you just feeling so cold. And I felt like your coldness was me related, like it was somehow I was doing something wrong, I was failing you in some way. And I remember thinking to myself, I am trying so desperately hard to love you, to cherish you, to take care of you, and taking it so personally that you were, I'm going to put like air quotes, cold.
You also took it really personally that I was anxious about you, and so you felt that I did not trust you and that I should automatically trust you.
Yep. Yeah. That I took that incredibly personally. And I think, again, codependence in this season, being so young and immature, having no foundation, zero foundation, financial, mental, physical, emotional. The only thing really that we had a foundation in was the spiritual aspect of it, where we were united in that. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, we were so unhealthy that, and I was so young, I think it was hard for me to not take those things personally. And I mean, that didn't even change all that quickly. I think I took things personally for many, many, many years to go.
Mm-hmm. I also remember begging you not to go to work and clinging onto your shirt and like crying, like, do not leave me. Do
that was
not
hard.
leave me here alone.
I think we need to talk about how you're extroverted, because I think that was part of the thing that we didn't quite understand. Or maybe you understood it, but you're so drastically extroverted that I think that being home by yourself was exacerbated, right? Like that would have been hard for most moms in that circumstance. But because of your personality and natural giftedness, strengths, weaknesses, I think it was extra hard for you.
Yes, and I think that there were a lot of life changes all wrapped up into that first year of our marriage, of how I was living and what I was plucked from and then dropped into this totally new situation. I went from living in college with all of my friends and roommates and never alone, living my best life, to with a happy family and super secure relationship with all of my family, to being a new wife and a mom and being alone all of the time. Parents divorced at the same time that I'm newly married. My cats died.
Literally.
My car broke.
Yeah.
Wow, it was a country song.
It was literally a country song.
Oh my goodness.
Your cat died and your car broke down on the side of the road.
On the way to the cabin.
On the way to the cabin.
On the hottest day of summer. And it was in July, so I
Mhm.
was 9 months pregnant.
Yeah. It was the 4th of July weekend. So
Yep.
you were, very pregnant.
Yep. Hottest day of summer.
And then your mom sold your house.
Yes.
You're all of the foundations that made you a person, like where you grew up and who you were around and your whole family. It just kind of shattered.
Yeah. Blink of an eye. Gone.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you throw
a whole new life.
Yeah, this brand new life, and it's a heavy life. Like it's like it's a heavy load of life, of responsibility, of change.
Mm-hmm.
All of the things changing all at once.
Right.
And I didn't know how to support you in that. I didn't know, I knew of those things happening, but I just had no idea what to do or how to do it.
Even physically, everything that had made up me as a person, and my body and my hormones and my clothes and everything, all of that even all changed on the most basic of levels. My body changed completely after being pregnant and giving birth, and then postpartum, and all of my hormones were crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing really seemed like it was your own.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were giving your body away because you were breastfeeding.
Right, and up a lot at night.
And this, when Juliana was born, I was up a lot with you.
Yes.
That was good.
Gonna do that this time around?
I don't know. We will see. But yeah, I was up a lot because that was my heart toward you was I wanted to support you and love you in all the ways that I could. And I think that heart also made it hard for me to face some of the coldness.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was still really carrying really heavy the burdens of our previous conversations all the way through. And then you were anxious about me being at work and interacting with other people. And so that mixed in with my heart, mixed in with all of my inability to help you or to change anything for the better for you, created, I don't know, probably some anger.
You definitely struggled with anger.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it created a lot of anger because I was so out of control.
I also remember you feeling very disrespected and unloved by me because of my tone. Do you remember that? Oh, that was like a code, like a key word. My tone.
Yeah.
How I would talk to you, and you'd be like, you can't possibly love me and speak to me that way.
Yeah.
Those two don't coexist.
Agreed.
And so
I'm glad you finally get it.
You'd be pretty upset about that.
I would. I think that is a reflection of how we grew up. Because I think tone was so important in my household. We had to update our tone all the time. Like how you spoke to an adult, how you spoke to a peer, how you spoke to your siblings. It was so important and so emphasized throughout growing up that when you did that to me, it was so disconnected from how I believed that people who loved each other, right? Like these growing up years, I believed people loved each other, were supposed to talk to one another. And it made me so, oh my word, it made me so crazy. Because again, it was disconnected from my reality, or not my reality, but my upbringing, I guess.
Right. And yeah, you would get really mad. And I remember locking myself in the bathroom on a few different occasions.
Because I was angry?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another, you were never unsafe.
No, but I didn't feel very safe.
Right. But like, I just want to make it clear, like you were never physically, you were never physically harmed. You were never physically unsafe. But I think the anger was not good.
No.
And I will own that. It sounds so terrible.
It's just a reality
of
our first year.
I remember getting so angry. I wonder if you remember this. I remember getting so angry that I kicked a blow up volleyball in the living room.
I don't know if I remember that.
I remember just like bursting at the seams. It probably had to do with tone and coldness. And I exploded and I kicked the stupid blow up beach ball against the closet wall in the living room. It was not good. Mm-hmm. But again, I mean, it was definitely a reflection of our health at the time. Mm-hmm. Man, we were so young. Mm-hmm. If you could say one thing to that little Becca, like at 21.
Oh boy.
What would you say? Like, what would you want to tell her?
I don't know. That's so hard because I don't know that we could have done much very differently because of all of the circumstances and because of our history and because of our personalities and because of how we were raised and because of every factor that was going into it. I don't know that we could have done things very differently.
Do you know what I might have said to him?
What?
I might have told him to go get some counseling.
Says the counselor.
I think I could have used some counseling support. Mm-hmm. And I never sought any. But I was out of control. And part of the reason I didn't really feel like I could do that was because I wanted to be present for you, to help you, because I knew you were struggling so bad. And I hadn't put together yet that if I'm the healthiest version of me, I'm the best person to help you be the best version of you. But we were so codependent and enmeshed at that point, and there was no way to like disconnect those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I probably could have gotten some counseling too myself.
Yeah. Says the better counselor.
That is not actually a counselor.
Well, you're just not practicing. So you finished up, you know what? You finished up school in May.
I did. Well, not in May. No.
Oh, did you go through the summer?
Yes, my last paper was due like right around the time I was born. And I didn't get it in because she was born. So they gave me a 2-week extension.
And then
I had to write my last paper when she was 2 weeks old. And I remember thinking, I don't care about this. It doesn't matter.
You're banging on the table.
It was like so difficult to write that paper.
Yeah.
Postpartum mode.
Right. No, yeah.
But I did. That was my last paper. I handed it in. So technically I finished in July.
Do you remember much about our first?
I do. That's a whole nother can of worms. I think that we were really unhealthy there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we were.
And I have a lot of regret and guilt for how we parented her.
Yeah.
Even as an infant.
Yeah, it was a little bit crazy. And because of how unhealthy we were, our parenting kind of reflected that. Our parenting, I don't think we were available to her.
No.
And I remember writing to her just a lament that I'm so sorry that we weren't we were so unhealthy, we were so immature that we couldn't be the kind, like we weren't capable of being good parents. And I think that a lot of people with postpartum feel that same like dynamic.
Yeah. I remember people coming to the apartment to visit and to meet her and hold her. And I remember watching them hold her and fawn over her and think she's so cute and bring her gifts and stuff. And I thought, these people love her more than I do.
Wow. Your emotions and your mental health and all the brokenness, like the shattering that we talked about, I think it just took away your ability to like regulate and feel.
Mm-hmm.
And there was so much stress that you carried. Stress toward me and my work, stress. I don't think you carried a lot of financial stress, but stress in parenting, stress in being alone. I think being alone is really stressful for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was just so much that you were carrying in that season.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being like wanting to just love her, but I remember being frustrated.
Mm.
You know, I don't think I understood development at all, which is ironic, being a counselor. I didn't get it. I didn't get that the only thing from 0 to 12 months that you need to do is just love, like pour out love and
Meet their basic needs.
and just meet the need. Like meet the need immediately and love them unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. And I don't think I did either of those things. I don't think I met her needs well, and I don't think I loved her the way that I would have liked to have.
Right.
Ugh. It's such a sucky thing to remember.
It is. It's not my favorite thing to remember.
Should we talk about finances?
What finances? We had none.
Yeah. Is this the rim shot? There you go. You're correct. Yeah. So I think I had $25,000 in debt. I think you had 30. So that's why you had more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time we were $55,000 in debt, making $18.50 an hour.
I wasn't working anymore.
Oh, right. Yeah. You stopped working right when you were born.
Yeah, like the week before.
Right. I thought it was like 2 days before.
It might have been.
It was really close to her
It was.
date. And then you stopped working to be home because our ideal was that you would be home with our kids.
Right, but it also doesn't make sense to, it would have been so much more expensive to have daycare.
Yeah. Unless you would like worked in a daycare. Why are you shrugging at me? So we just made nothing. We made fine money. We were able to live. But I think we made like $35,000, $36,000 that first year.
I have no idea.
Well, that's what we made.
Yeah, okay.
Just ask me.
I do know that I spent like $0.
I think you literally spent $0. That is one thing that was really blessed, is that we were always on the same page with, most of the time we were on the same page with finances and spending specifically.
Mm-hmm. Now that we actually have money, it's more of a struggle to be on the same page sometimes. But before, when we had none, it's like, well, we have none, so I'm not going to spend anything.
Yeah. I was so grateful and still am so grateful for your wisdom in that. And it has been such a blessing to our marriage long term to like that was the case. Because you were really good at living below your means always. And so that translated into our relationship. I think if that hadn't translated into our relationship, I don't know if we would have survived it. Like, not like the marriage itself, but like, I don't think we would have grown in health if the financial piece of it would have stayed like bad. I think that would have overwhelmed me to the point where I would have resented you so much. Mm-hmm. And I think that it would have become a huge win. Like, I do not think we could have survived it.
Yeah, if we were still stuck in that, that would be not okay.
Yeah. So we were on the same page. So we were paying off debt, even though we were making nothing. We were basically just taking our child tax credits that we were getting. And then we paid down debt. I guess I don't think we can talk about that because I think that would happen the next year.
And we didn't have to pay off my loans because I had the grace period because I finished in July and then there was like 6 months grace period after that. So
Yeah.
I don't know that we started paying mine off right then.
We were paying mine.
But yeah, we were working on yours and our monthly bills were like gas and rent.
Yep.
And it was only gas for you and you worked like 10 minutes away.
Yep.
So it wasn't that much.
Yeah, I think total it was like 200, like 150 on gas and like 800 and something for rent. So we were living basically on like 24,000 a year, probably 1,000 for rent and gas, and then 1,000 for like food and dates and utilities and other things.
We were on WIC.
We were on WIC. Yep. Yeah. So WIC, like a food. It was like a food thing.
And for me too, when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And when I was 3 months old, we got pregnant.
Oh my goodness! That happened in the first year of our marriage.
Yep.
That was the following, like November.
We announced it at Christmas time to our family, I'm pretty sure.
I remember taking, we could talk about that. So that December, we went up north to my brother's house and stayed there overnight. We got there super late. And in the morning, we went into the bathroom and we took a pregnancy test because we were suspecting and we were expecting. Did you see what I did there?
Yes.
Thank you. That was exciting.
That was crazy.
It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially for my mom.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
She was like, congratulations. I think she was so overwhelmed for us. But I was just going to grin and bear it. Like I didn't have it in my capacity to be overwhelmed at that point because it was just the reality.
Yes. And also in our first year of marriage, we both felt highly called to be completely open-handed with our fertility. And I remember it being kind of like we came together to have this conversation and we both had been feeling that way prior to the conversation. So we came together and we're like, I kind of feel like we should we're just called to have as many kids as God wants us to have and in his timing completely. And we both were very much on the same page with that.
I remember that. I remember talking and both of us coming to the conclusion that we didn't necessarily want to control. We had this belief system of God is going to give us however many kids he does. And
in whatever timing he does. So we're just going to kind of open our hands and let him do that and trust him with the outcome. Mm-hmm. And we had no idea what that would look like.
Right, what that meant.
But we felt very confident in that was what we were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, I don't know if that has, I know that you're going to say that it waned a little bit, like up and down. But
you did.
I don't think I waned all that much. Like, I really don't think it changed very much.
Yeah, right. In the last year, you've been saying, I'm not having any more kids after I'm 30, so better.
Honey, you can't talk about year 8 or 9.
And you were pretty serious about
year
that.
1.
You were joking, but you were kind of serious.
I think that we can't talk about that.
Well, I'm just saying, you waned.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Not.
Stop talking about Bruno.
I did not.
You haven't waned.
No.
You're not a wainer.
Nope.
Or a whiner.
Nope.
Or a waxer.
Or a wiener.
You're definitely not that.
I'm none of those things.
No. But you are other things.
Okay.
We dated a lot during our first year. That was
We did?
my mentor told me that was important, that had to be a priority, and that
They specifically said every week.
every week, that was the goal.
Because if
Gold
you
standard.
missed one, then it wouldn't be so far in between your next one.
Well, yeah, the specific adage or like way that he said it was, if your goal is to date every other week and you miss one, then you're going to be only meeting, like intentionally spending time with your significant other once a month, which is kind of an unsustainable, maybe not unsustainable. Well, yeah, kind of an unsustainable model. Like that's not how you create healthy marriage. And so we were told, hey, make it a priority, be really intentional, and date. And so we did.
Before born, we did lots of date days all the
It
time.
was definitely more than once a week.
It was. And I think that you had Wednesdays off.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would just spend that whole day together. And it'd be like date day.
Yeah.
And then after Noah was born, what day of the week was she born? Was it a Thursday? I feel like it was. But I remember the very next Thursday after she was born, your mom babysat and we walked down to Stouts.
Yes, we did. And yes, it was a Thursday.
That's what I thought.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And so got her first bottle from your mom at 1 week old, and we had our first date.
Yeah, I think it was like 50 minutes. And
yeah,
it was
it didn't
walkable.
last very long.
You know,
we walked down there.
Did we walk?
Yeah, we did.
You had just had a baby a week prior, and you walked like 6.6 miles.
Right.
Really?
We also walked to the state fair in September after she was born.
Oh, yeah.
And that was quite the walk there, and then all over the state fair, and then walking home.
That was a lot.
That was also on the hottest day of that summer, and slept the entire time in her stroller.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But
yeah,
anyways,
the dating was it was highly prioritized.
we were very consistent, clearly, because, yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily suggest that people do that.
I mean, I think it was fine.
We did fine. It was 50 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't that much. And your mom called us.
That's right.
That's why we went
She
back.
called.
Because Juliana was crying. But yeah, and then every Thursday after that, I mean, we rarely would miss a Thursday night.
Yeah, we're very, very, very consistent.
Yeah.
I think that obviously looking back,
I think it saved our marriage.
I mean,
For me, my love language is quality time.
maybe it saved your marriage then.
Yeah, the one that I'm in alone.
No, just your half.
Mm-hmm.
I think it did. I mean, I wouldn't have used that language.
It was sanity for me.
Mm-hmm. I think you had to have that one-on-one conversation, face-to-face,
Away
connection
from
time.
the home, away from babies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, drastically improved our ability to move through the stress that we were moving through. Imagine having all of that stress that we talked about and all of that unhealthiness and not having an intentional time to just like be together.
Or any support, any family or
Right.
friends to help make that happen.
Right. But we did. We made it happen. It was very, very prioritized and intentional.
Mm-hmm. All the way through until born. We would have date nights every single Thursday.
Yep.
But I can't talk about that right
No, born much later. That was year 3.
Yeah, much, much, much later.
We don't talk about existing yet.
So that's year 1.
That was the first year. That was our first year
I'm
marriage.
sure there's tons more details that we are not covering, but it's been 52 minutes, so I think that's a wrap.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if anybody listening to this has any questions about year one. Because I think that it would be kind of fun if we had people that wanted to ask us about the first year, maybe before the second year, and then we can kind of do like and these are the questions that we got for the first year.
Right. We're open books.
We are books that are open.
Mm-hmm.
What page are you on?
No secrets here.
I'm on page 95.
That's the page I was on. Yep.
That's because we're so in sync.
Yep.
Backstreet Boys. All right.
And on that note,
I love you.
I love you too.
I got all I need. I got everything. If I got you and me, I got all I want. And I got all I need. And I got